So,
you?
if I am great. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking
Mhm.
as well.
Oh, no problem. I'm so happy to hear that because we have so many things to talk about because this is Financial Literacy Month, is it not?
It is. And the final day.
Amazing. Right? Because it's the 30th of November already. I don't know about y'all, but to me, November just flew by. Like with wings, it just flew by.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Right? So,
Mhm.
oh, I'm so happy that you can see us both, Money Savvy Tamisha. I'm so glad to hear that. So, thank you for joining us, right?
Mhm.
And let me just share with you you all, of course, the topic for today's discussion. It is managing money in a changing world, right? So, first
Mhm.
of all, Grace, what do we mean by a changing world where money is concerned? Would you like to shed some light on that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so many things are going on. I mean, technology is ever changing. Economy, there's so many advancements and changes, and the markets, the financial markets are changing, right? So all these changes, they call for each and every individual to start thinking about having their own strategy to manage their finances so that they can maybe keep up or stay afloat or at the same time catch up to some of these changes that are actually happening, and also so that they don't get left behind as well, because it's also important to keep up with some of these changes, and sometimes knowing some of these changes will also empower you to be able to make the right decisions going forward as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that amazing, insight with us. So
Yeah, you're
at this
welcome.
time, I'm just going to ask you, what is it mainly that person should be concerned about when it comes on to managing our money in these different times? Because I'm pretty sure that 20 years ago, the financial scene was different, and another 20 years before that, you guessed it, it was different from what it looks like today. So what are some
Mhm.
things that we can keep in mind when we're thinking about managing our money in today's world?
Okay, that's an excellent question. And I could just put it and simplify it and put it into five top strategies that we can talk about today. And those five top strategies, I'll start with budgeting and expense tracking. This is the key and fundamental, tool in everyone's toolkit, financial toolkit, right? Because if you don't know how to budget, chances are you are actually maybe misusing your money, or you get to find some people are in a situation whereby, hey, I'm earning a lot of money, I'm in a very great position, I have a good job, but I have nothing to show for it, right? So that can result from not having a good budgeting system, right? So when you have a good system where you're budgeting and tracking your money, you can be able to see where you're actually making good purchases, or where you're actually not making great decisions with your expenses as well, right? So some of the advantages around budgeting and tracking your expenses, right? You have clarity over your income as well as your expenditures, right? And the other good thing is that you actually be able to identify any unnecessary expenses that you have and actually create room for savings, right? Which will be great. And the other advantage as well, you find that if you become financially disciplined as well, right? Which would be great, especially when you're talking about managing money in a changing world. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, and you touch on some very key points right there. A term that really stood out to me is financially disciplined, and I'm writing it down because I really many times am not. Case in point, today when I went on the road because I got paid recently, and
Mhm.
so normally after getting paid, we need to take out the important stuff that you need to pay for, utilities, etc. And
Mhm.
then I like to do something that I call shopping. Oh my God. Today I had like one or two things in mind that I absolutely had to get. And
Mhm.
so I was passing the stores, and I have this expensive habit of window shopping, and not just doing that, but going in a store and getting it because it's something that I've been wanting, and I have the money right now. So
Mm.
people, be financially disciplined. I'm happy to report in the end though, I really only got the two items I went in for and I left. I ran to leave that place and go home because let me tell you, when you're thinking about things that you want to get, notice I said want. They're
Mm-hmm.
not needs, they're not completely necessary. And you have
Mm-hmm.
the money and you're in the place that
Mm-hmm.
chances are it's gonna be super difficult
Mm-hmm.
to resist the urge to purchase. So
Mm-hmm.
financially disciplined. I strive to be very financially disciplined someday. All right. So
It
that
sounds like
one
you're
that you
doing
just
great
gave,
so far.
thank you. I do try. So we just spoke about budgeting, and I'm happy to share today also I started like an official budgeting spreadsheet. And it is so simple. Everything is color coded, well, by choice. And it's simple to follow. So now all I need to do, all I get to do is just put in the entries and to be financially disciplined as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the month or end of the week, I'll be able to see what is it I spent on.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys do that too. You know, budget, write it down. Don't just keep everything in your mind. Write it down. Because when I got settled in today,
Mm-hmm.
I found it difficult to remember what exactly I spent on the items that I bought. So can you imagine if you're waiting days after you actually make the
Mm-hmm.
purchase to log those entries?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, write it down as soon as you can. All right. So
Yeah.
what
Or
what's
keep the receipt.
something else that we could do? Oh, what were you saying? Go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, I was saying in addition, you could also keep the receipts, or if you're using your debit card to make just those purchases, then they
Mm-hmm.
can be tracked on your statements from your bank as well. So which would be great, and you can see all those purchases, and that will take the stress away from wanting to track every single purchase, because sometimes we do forget. We are
Yeah,
humans, right?
we are.
And it's all about finding a system that actually works for you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, that's super important
Mm-hmm.
because maybe the system that works best for, let's say, Ashley doesn't necessarily work as
Mm-hmm.
well for Patrick,
Mm-hmm.
but he'll find what works for him and then he'll go along with that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
super important, budgeting. What's
Mm-hmm.
something else that we could do to manage our money in this changing world?
All right. So strategy number 2 that I will share today is about diversifying your portfolios for investments. Okay. It's always good to do that, right? And when you are investing in diversified portfolios, right, it's a good thing that you open yourself to a potential for higher returns, so to say, right? And as I said, potential, right? Because the markets can be unpredictable, but you actually open yourself to that potential as well. Unlike the traditional savings accounts, whereby you might not have like a good interest rate, so your money might actually be in an interest rate that is actually lower than the inflation rate. But when you open yourself to some of these diversified portfolios, they may be growing at an interest rate that is actually outpacing the inflation, which can be of advantage to you, right? And with that one, it's also good for you to actually diversify and spread the risk of losses, right? Because as we say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It
Right, right.
still is true even up to date, right? You don't want all your investments in just one single stock or something like that. Or maybe you say, oh, I love cryptocurrencies. I'm going to put all my money in there because we are talking about changing world, right? All those things are coming
Yeah,
up, right? And you
right.
say, you see all the shiny things and you want to put all your money there. You have to think about it and do your research as well. And doing that diversification actually helps you to spread the risk and not just take up on all the risk under one. Because if you lose your money in that one single stock that you were investing in, then that's it, right? Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And can you imagine just for a second losing everything that you have invested in that one place, like all your
Mm.
money? It's not a good feeling. And that
Yeah.
can even, yeah, I'm pretty sure that will definitely put a taint on your mental health for a little while. We don't want that. So let us just diversify our portfolios so that we can spread the risk, you know? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have to ever experience losing everything. It's a horrible
Yeah.
feeling, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we have budgeting, we have diversifying our portfolios. What else can we do to manage our money?
All right. This one I love it. Strategy number three. Okay. So actually having emergency fund or some safety nets, so to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is so key to have in your plan because anything can happen. Life does happen. And we're talking about, managing money in a changing world, right? You have a great job, you're doing well, you're healthy, and all of a sudden you fall ill. You're no longer able to work the same job for a period of time. What is going to
Mm-hmm.
happen, right? You know, your bills don't stop coming. You still have to pay them, right? So what are you going to do in such a situation, right? Because chances are if you don't have any money that is saved, what are you going to do? Sometimes some people end up wanting to use credit cards and thereby going to debt. So to avoid that, have an emergency fund, which is about 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses, right? That way you cushion yourself, right? And if anything unexpected like that happens, hey, you have something to fall on, and it gives you a peace of mind to know that, you are not like in panic mode when something bad happens, or maybe it might be a major car breakdown. And if your work is reliant on having your car all the time, right, then you're okay. You won't panic because you have money to fix it, right? Right?
Right,
Yeah, and
right.
indeed, the
Yeah,
credit card is a rabbit hole.
it is.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It really
so it would
is.
be good to actually have an emergency fund or something that you
Right.
can call a safety net. Yeah, or an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity fund, right? Yeah.
Right, right,
Mhm.
right. So in order for us to have this emergency fund now, then we'd have to, of course, be actively saving every time we get our income, right? So perhaps
Mhm.
like a 10% or just, a nice portion of it that will contribute to this emergency fund so that eventually if needs be, and let's say you're no longer employed, you still have your bills coming in, you still have needs and wants that need money, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
best to take a little portion of your salary. What would you recommend? Like what portion of your salary? If not a dollar figure, because we all have different incomes, then what percentage would you say would be a good start to
Mhm.
remove from that salary and put towards building an emergency fund or a safety net? What would you suggest?
So I think you already answered that as well, because everyone's income is kind of different, right? And they're at different levels, and their financial goals, they are at different levels as well, right? So whatever is comfortable to you, and however, like the faster you build it, the better, right? But go at your own pace on what your budget can accommodate, right? So that's where you tie it back into your budget and you prioritize that emergency fund within your budget, right? So you're not doing it like if you have funds to actually then set aside enough of that expense, like the 3 to 6 month expenses set aside at once, hey, why not? Just go ahead and do it, right? But if you are like maybe pinched in your cash flow, right, then like Davia said, you can actually, be saving whatever percentage that works for you within your budget. You can prioritize it and start saving towards it, right?
Mm.
And hey, you might be saying, hey, I'm pinched. I don't even have any extra at the end of the month. So, okay, if you're a mom or a dad, or if you're living by yourself and you're single, who are you waiting to come and rescue you? No is going to come and holding, 5,000 check and just give you just right there just because, you have to go out there, either ask for what you want, right? Or go work for what you want, right? Or start making room for what you want, right? The responsibility is on us. This is a changing world, right? And yes, there are nice people there. And yes, miracles are there, but miracles are few. We can't count on them, right? So we have our part to do, right? So if you're stretched in your current budget, right, maybe look for a second job, right? Maybe look for a side hustle, right? Maybe research into some of these opportunities that, you might be able to earn extra money, right, without really going out of your way with your time, investments, and all that kind of stuff, right? But you still have to do some work, right, to be able to build income. Don't just say, okay, oh my God, no pity parties. I'm your sister, so I'm advocating to say no pity parties, right? If your back is against the wall, no pity party for that, right? What are you gonna do with it, right? If you need to, just inbox me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about different options that you can start thinking about. If you're starting a cleaning business or offering some of the people that you have in your community to say, hey, can I come clean your place? Can I come clean your yard? Can I come clean something or even babysit for you? You can start making that extra money, and that extra money you can then be putting it towards your emergency fund, right? So no pity parties. I'm your sister and I love you. Let's get, let's love, that life whereby we are advocating for having good savings, right? And, advocating for financial freedom. Yeah.
Indeed. Wow. So thank you so very much for expounding on that point for us. What would you say is number 4 in managing our money? What to think
All
about
right.
when we think about
Okay.
managing our money in a changing world?
Okay. So number 4, that will be, managing debt wisely. Okay, we have to manage our debt wisely, right? Especially like if you have credit cards that have a high interest, you don't want that to get out of hand, right? So because if we always talk about the rule of 72, right? That also applies even to credit cards, right? If we are saying in our investments, whatever interest rate that you have, if you divide that interest rate into 72, it will give you the number of years it will take for your money to double. That is on investment. So if you're getting 4%, right, maybe it might take 18 years, right? If you're getting 12%, it might take about 6 years for your money to double, right? So it doubles faster with a higher interest. So it means if you have a higher interest on your debt, right, then it's doubling even way faster. If you have a 20% interest rate on your credit card, then that means like in 3 years it's doubling. So if you don't manage it well, it can easily get out of hands, right? And then now you get into that vicious cycle that you start wanting to pay credit with credit, and it can easily become uncontrollable, right? Yeah. And when unexpected expenses then come in, then it makes the situation even worse, right? So managing your debt as much as possible and prioritizing it in your budget would be great, right? So yes, it can be so unbearable, right? So prioritize managing debt. If you have lots of debt, prioritize it, managing it in your budget so that you can reduce it as much as possible, right? And so there's so much stress that people are dealing with a lot of credit, because stats actually show that I'll talk about Canadians, right? Most Canadians are carrying a debt load, right? And they are using more of debt than the income that they have, right? So it's something that we all have to join together and say, hey, you know what? Let's get this debt monster in check, right? let's get it out of our house, right? It can knock at neighbors' houses, but if we are next to them and they are our friends, we are knocking that monster away. And managing that debt wisely, right? So that is prioritizing it in our budgets and trying as much to put lump sum towards just paying it off as much as possible, right? Of course, there are other priorities that you have in your financial plan and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you take care of all those bases. But whatever extra cash flow that you have, prioritize it towards, paying down all that debt, right? So that you create more freedom and space for breathing, right? Don't wait till the last minute, right? Because something unexpected happens. You don't want to be in that situation where you're already struggling to pay off your debt, right? That's when you're forced to even go to like payday loans, which are even a worst enemy of them all, because they are terrible in being like having high interest, and they cost a lot, right? And they are not to your advantage at all. It may be seemingly a solution in the moment, but you try, right? So you want to stay away from those. Yeah.
Wow. Just wow. I can't even begin to unwrap all that you just said, just on that point about managing debt wisely alone. What do you mean more debt than what you're taking in per month as your income? What? How do you deal with that? I can't even fathom it. What? And it's even worse that this is actually the reality of persons. People do actually go through. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So listen, I just cannot. People, please do your emergency fund saving and everything else, so that you will not be one of those persons in that unfortunate situation where you have more debt to pay per month than you have your income. Let's say your income is $100 of whatever currency, and you have debts to pay for like $150 per month. That's undoable. That's undoable. No. So let us listen to these.
That's the reality of some people, That's the reality of some people, and it's said that not many people, especially who are in such a situation, are open to have such conversations. They feel embarrassed, to open up those discussions. But if you don't open up to, to let other people know, or at least trusted people, because some people are not good to share some of that, but trusted people like a financial advisor like me, right? You can open up to a person like me, and I can help you to brainstorm some of the solutions that you can look into that will best suit your situation. So you are not alone, and you are not the only one who's going through this, right? So you have so many people that are ready to just hold you hand in hand. There are many organizations, amazing organizations out there that are ready to support you, right? And there are many strategies as well that can help you to supplement your budget outside of the income that you are earning, right? That you can leverage on, so that you can make room in your budget to get out of debt as well. So those are some of the strategies that, if you engage my services or something like that, it's something that we can look into, something that works for you and help you, because there is hope. It's not like it's the end of the world. There is hope for you. So be encouraged. You are not alone, and there is an answer to your situation.
Wow, fantastic. I'm not in that situation, but I feel more at ease now after hearing that. Wow, thank you. Thank you so very much. And what would be the fifth and final way in which we can manage money in a changing world?
All right. Da 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 da. Drum roll. All right. So actually, like embracing technology for financial management, right? Because there's so many technology that is coming out, right? So many budgeting tools that are out there, right? It's just it's amazing. They're out there to make our life so easy. There are apps out there that are, making life easy as well. Different websites that are out there, and most banks actually, they're actually upping their game on these technological advancements, that even your bank account you can have like a budgeting system within that, right? You have real time access to your money and all that kind of stuff, right? Although, of course, don't forget, whilst we are liking all these fancy kind of deal, right? Always still remember and be mindful to keep, the basic financial literacy concepts in mind, right? So that you can be able to leverage some of these technological advancements wisely, right? Because with technological advancements, also sometimes some people, the naughty people, have also become advanced, right? And they can there can be issues or concerns around security online and all that kind of stuff, right? When you educate yourself and empower yourself with some of this knowledge of how to be safe online, how to be safe and secure with your money online, you can then leverage some of these tools and the technology that is there, all the budgeting tools to make it easy. Look at that here. She's now using a spreadsheet for budgeting and it's working for her, right? So that is just embracing technology in this lovely changing world. Ever change, it's not going to stop. Change is the new constant. So just embrace it and, just enjoy it, right? Yeah.
Definitely. Wow, thank you so very much. And also remember that Empower Her 101 does have a free budgeting tool on our website, right? So you guys can also check it out and see how best it works for you. But these have been incredible points as usual, Grace. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
So just to recap for us, thank you. Just to recap, we did budgeting and you also spoke about expense tracking. That was the first point. The second was diversifying your portfolio to spread out the risk of loss, just in case, there's always a risk. And also the safety net or the emergency fund. Then we also looked at managing debt wisely. Yes. And then the last thing that we looked at was embracing technology and, for your financial management, right? So in wrapping up, what is one thing that you would tell that person who doesn't really see the need to focus on the fact that the world is changing, and so you might want to employ other means to manage your money, not just do the same thing that you usually do 20 years ago and expect it to still always work very well for you today. So what would you say to that person who is somewhat stubborn when it comes on to adapting? What would you say?
You know what? Power to them. If whatever they're doing and they feel it's working for them, power to them, right? And I'm not here to change anyone or to change, it's not my place to do that. But what I can suggest and employ for them to consider, right, is to say, just because we are ignorant about these changes that are happening around us, it doesn't mean that if they are actually negatively impacting us, it's not impacting you, right? So whether you ignore it or not, right, if those changes are in your favor, great, right? But if they are not in your favor and you're still ignorant about it, then, my friends, that's where they say they are being left behind, right? So it's good to empower ourselves with some of these changes and just being open to changing with some of the changes. Of course, there are some situations whereby, sometimes maintaining the norm of the old ways may make sense in certain things, right? But not in all things, right? There are certain situations whereby you have no choice but to actually change and advance as advances are. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. And that's where you turn back and see, wow, I'm no longer, because it doesn't matter where you are at and all that kind of stuff. when you turn around, you actually be able to see and feel that the world around me is changing, right? And you'll be forced somewhere in one way or the other to comply, right? If they change the currency of the country, right, and you're still holding on to the old one, and they give a certain limit for it to be phased out, like the old currency, and you are just ignorant to it, and you're holding on to that old currency and say, oh, I'm a millionaire, and then the time that you want to catch up, it's already past the time, the deadline for you to transfer kind of deal. Guess what? Now you're at square zero, square one, whatever you want to call it, right? So it is your advantage to maybe not, how can I say, maybe swallow your pride about holding on to old traditions that are not serving you anymore, right? If it's no longer serving you, then consider looking into some of these amazing, change can be amazing.
Yeah.
So just embrace change. Yeah.
Wow. And you know, Grace, you just touched on something. For example, the country is using a different currency. Amazing feedback right there, by the way. First of all, let me say that. Right? Thank you so very much. And then I got a bit excited because we changed over our currency here in Jamaica very recently. It was, I'm sure, a couple of months ago now. Yeah, but it was this year. So, for example, this is what the $50 note looks like, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Right here. And then you have the back. And although it's different from the $100, like, you know, the old $100 looks a bit different. Now we have the new monies that also has this little transparent part here. Right there.
Ooh.
You see,
Nice.
you can see my
I like
hair,
that.
right?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
so if you're that person who you're saying, oh, no, don't like the new money, so I'm just going to use the old money. Well, we've got news for you. Eventually, that money will not be accepted anymore. So good for you. If you want to use it, go right ahead. But what are you going to use it to do? You can't use it to do anything.
Right.
So Jamaica has, right? Jamaica has done this so many times before. Because, for example, our grandmothers, you know, our grandparents, they would have at least 2 different sets of monies that was not this one. And now they'll have to add this to the bunch because now that's no longer the current money being used.
Yeah.
But now it's these ones, right? So, you know, you have to make changes because change is the only thing that's constant, right? And so, yeah, you have to get with the times, especially if what you're doing is not quite working. You might want to think of doing something a bit different so that you can have favorable results, you know?
Right.
So, wow,
Right.
I really do not want this session to end, but we've gotten to the end of it. Oh my,
Yeah.
bittersweet moment, the end, bittersweet, I cannot. But yes, so that is bringing our episode to an end. Today, our topic was managing money in a changing world. And the theme for November is financial literacy. So we have here with us our amazing licensed financial consultant, Grace Davia. And where can we find you if we want to talk to you, if we want to watch your YouTube videos? Can you please remind us where we could go to find your content and to get in contact with you?
All right. So you can find me here on Instagram. I have 2 accounts there, under Grace Rue 1, and the other one is Bees Finance. Or finance piece. Yeah. And then you can find me under Return of Grace Dube as well, Chikowore. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I also have an account on YouTube as well. Like she said, you can watch the videos and catch up on any of the episodes this year that you might have missed. We have had a good run here, right?
We did, for sure.